everyone, and welcome to Supple Strength 102. So it's my second video in the beginner series, the one series of my Supple Strength videos. So we're going to start by loosening up. We don't need any equipment. You might want a pillow for your head with this one. If you've got a ball, you know you can add it to the bridge. But don't worry if you don't have any equipment, it's not a problem. So we're just loosening up. Let's loosen up through the middle as well. Just a little gentle twist from the waist. And we'll loosen up through the knees and circle the feet. Let's wake those lungs up with a nice big deep breath in. Plant your feet about shoulder width apart. Tummy muscles switched on. We're going to bend the knees, sweep the arms up, big breath in and breathe out. Blow the cobwebs away and again breathe in and breathe out. One more for luck. Breathe in and release. So just to remind you of those Pilates principles then. Heels in line with your hip bones as much as you possibly can, especially when we're lying down and we've got our feet on the floor. The pelvis needs to be in neutral. So tilt the pelvis forwards and back. Think of your pelvis as a bucket full of water. If you were to tilt your pelvis backwards, hence arching your back, you'd spill all the water out of the front. Equally, if you went the other way, you'd spill the water out of the back. We need you in the centre. So your pelvis is neutral. If you were to look down, your pubic bone and your hip bones are level with each other. Okay? Then we switch the core muscles on, those muscles in between the hip bones. Hollow out the tummy muscles. We zip up with the pelvic floor. We switch on that corset of strength, wrapping around your middle, drawing it into about a third of the way in. We make sure the ribs stay down, so if the arms go up, the chest doesn't follow. As you can see, that also arches the back. So you need to keep the rib cage down, keep that back lengthened as much as you can, especially when those arms go up. And if that means you restrict how high the arms go up, then so be it. You don't want to force those arms up and force yourself to arch. Okay? So the rib cage stays down, core muscles stay switched on, back stays lengthened, shoulders nice and broad, chin towards the throat, lengthening up through the back of the neck. Let's get a little sense of balance. Shift your weight around the soles of the feet, wobbling forwards and backwards, just forcing the brain to connect with the whole of the body, so that everything is switched on and ready to go for the class. And when you settle, acknowledge that you're spreading your weight evenly into the floor beneath you. A little bit about the breathing then. For the Pilates moves especially, we need to breathe into the chest so that you can keep the core muscles switched on. Take the air into the lungs. So breathe in through the nose. Feel the chest expand. As you breathe out, let the ribs deflate down. But you shouldn't feel any difference in the tummy muscles. Keep those firm. So close the eyes a moment. Breathe in through the nose, out through the mouth. Expanding the chest as you breathe in, filling the lungs, and then the chest and lungs deflate down as you breathe out. A couple of moments just to connect mind and body. Reiterate the long neck, the shoulders broad, and core muscles switched on. Okay, opening the eyes then. Into our warm-up, we're going to take the feet at least shoulder width apart, maybe a little wider if you can, and just angle those toes out on a slight diagonal. Pelvic floor and everything switched on. We're going to breathe in to draw the fingers up. Breathe out, bend the knees, drop your bottom and sink down. Breathe in, lift up and down. Keep the heels down on the floor. Might mean you need to take the feet a little wider. And just allow that bottom to sink as far as you can, opening out through the hips, warming up through the knees, the ankles and the muscles all in between. Going a little bit deeper if you can. One more up and down. Coming up, this time we're going to press to the right. So as you breathe out, push and lean to the right. Bring it back in. Breathe out, push and lean to the left. So because your toes are angled out, you shouldn't have to shuffle the feet around at all. Allow the knees to follow the toes as you push and reach. Core muscles switched on, supporting the back all the time. Reach with those arms, stretch across your back. Still breathing. Out as you press. In as you return. We'll do one more to each side. And gently bring those feet back in. Into our balance, we're going to do the swan. So, some people call this a dancing pose. So let's take one foot into the floor, lengthen up, switch on. You're going to focus your eyes, that'll help you balance. Take a hold of the foot behind you and just settle. Lifting the opposite arm up and again just settle. If you're finding this is a challenge, stay here, don't add on. If you are settled though, push the foot back into the hand, allow your body to tip forward slightly, keeping the shoulders down away from the ears. Center yourself, fix your gaze and gently hold that balance. Take it nice and slow on the way down, gently release and settle. Okay, give that leg a little shake. Let's do the other side. So plug the foot into the floor, lengthen up, switch on, focus the eyes. Take a hold of the foot first of all, and just center yourself. Take the other arm up for the ceiling. Hold that balance. And then if you're settled, add on. Dropping the elbow in front, body leaning, foot pushing into the hand. Core muscles switched on. Keep breathing. Use your core muscles. And then just as slow and smooth, we'll come back. Super. Give the leg a little shake. We're going to go into some roll downs then. Just stretch out and prepare the spine. So heels underneath the hips. You don't have to be at a side angle. I'm doing so for demonstration purposes. So core muscles are switched on. Remember all those points at the beginning. We'll breathe in at the top. Breathe out. Drop the chin to the chest. Drop the arms and shoulders forward. Slowly curl yourself forward. So you're stretching through the spine. Let the hands hang heavy, as if they were pulling you over. The tummy scooped up. The chin is on your chest. Don't worry if you can't reach the floor, and do soften the knees if the back of the legs feel too tight. Then we're going to restack. Make sure you're scooping up and using those tummy muscles, but the arms are relaxed as you rebuild the spine one vertebrae at a time. Melt the shoulders down and the head comes up last. Breathe in at the top. Exhale, chin to chest, same again. Methodically going through the spine. Remember to keep breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. Let the arms hang. Allow your spine to stretch. Imagine the space coming in between each vertebrae. And we restack. Smooth and slow. Mind concentrating on rebuilding each segment of the spine. The ribs melt down one by one, the shoulders melt, and the head comes up last. One more time, breathe in. Breathe out, chin to chest. Collapse forwards. You might find that you'll be able to stretch over a little further this time. The core muscles in, scoop up the tummy, relax the arms. Hang from the hips, bend the knees if you need to. And we'll restart. Nice and slow all the way to the top. Just before we come down to the floor, we're just going to wake up the sides of the body. I'd like you to take both arms up for me. Now pull the right elbow right into the back of the ribs and reach over to the right. So you're really trying to wake up those muscles underneath the shoulder blades. Coming back up to the top, other arm. Left elbow right in, reach over. Stretching through the side of the body, keep the hips in the centre. Coming back up, we'll do each side once more. Keep those shoulders down away from the ears. Tuck the right arm in and reach. All the way up. And other side. Hips in the centre, core muscles switched on to support. Keep the shoulder away from the ear. And release. Okay. We're going to use that roll down to safely bring us to the floor. Breathe in at the top. as you exhale. Chin to chest, roll yourself down. We're going to go into a couple of stretching moves. So take the hands and the knees down to the floor. You're going to bring your right foot forwards. Curl your left toes under. Place the foot on the floor. And then gently bring yourself up to standing. We're going to do warrior one. You need your right foot on the right, the left foot on the left. Your hips and shoulders must face the short edge of your mat. Sink down as much as you can. Make sure your knee is above the heel, definitely not in front. Pelvic floor zipped up, fingers and eyes float to the skies. Drop the shoulders down. And just use this time to open out through the hips, strengthening through that front leg as well, making sure those muscles underneath the shoulders are switched on and your shoulders are down from the ears. Make sure your arms are really close. You want to free the neck up as much as possible. So that's warrior one. Into sun warrior. We're going to drop the left hand to the left leg and just gently either reach up or reach back a fraction. See how the shoulder stays away from the ear. Keep breathing. Strong core muscles holding you in the center. And release. We're going to come down to the floor. Put that left knee down on the floor if you need to. To get the right foot back, we're going to downward facing dog. So bottom up to the sky. Press your hands into the floor. Spread the shoulders wide. Bottom up to the sky. And gently tease those heels down. They don't have to reach the floor. The back of the legs are really quite tight. You can bend the knees so that you can flatten off through the spine if you need to. Keep breathing in to prepare and breathing out to press and extend, lengthening that stretch as much as you possibly can. Okay, then you might want to put the knees down now. We need to bring that left foot forwards for our warrior one on the other side. So, bring yourself up to standing. When you're ready, you've got your left foot in front on the left side of the mat, right foot behind on the right side of the mat, hips and shoulders once again facing the front. Knee above the heel, core muscles are switched on, fingers and eyes float to the skies. Sink down as far as you feel is suitable for you. Core muscles switched on, of course, nice and strong through the center, breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. The right arm is going to drop to the right leg now for sun warrior, either reaching upwards for the sky or you can bend backwards, slightly more difficult, but check that front knee hasn't slipped backwards. Keep the pressure on and keep breathing. Use your core muscles, bring yourself upwards. We're going to go back down into downward facing dog one more time. Use that back knee if you need to. Take that left leg back into your downward facing dog. Spread the shoulders wide. Stretch through the spine and into the back of the legs. Remember to breathe each time you extend. And lengthen from top to toe. Okay, let's melt the knees down to the floor. Push the bottom back to your heels. And release gently with a child's pose. Hands can be in front, or if you prefer, the hands can go down by your feet. You choose. Okay, so from there we're going to go onto our backs. We're going to do heel slides. So then on your back, make sure you're towards the back end of your mat, because when we slide the foot forwards and back, I don't want you to catch the edge of the mat constantly. Remember that neutral spine we talked about? We're going to utilise that again. So pelvis stays neutral, you've got a little gap between your back and the floor. Pubic bone and hip bones are level. Now, a big no-no is that you mustn't arch. You mustn't create a big gap underneath your back. You mustn't allow that spine to curve like so, but you can flatten down, so tilting backwards slightly when we are lying. And this makes the back force into the floor. It makes the abdominals work that little bit harder. So if you're finding the move a little bit on the hard side and you're not sure about your back, tilt back into an imprint and it will make it that little bit safer for you. In time you do want to work towards staying in neutral, of course, but you can imprint back if you feel it's more suitable. So for heel slides, let's start in neutral. Core muscles are switched on, knees are bent at a right angle with the feet on the floor in line with the hips. We're going to imagine sliding the heels forwards and back, drawing a line in sand if you wish. Hands on the floor by your hips, one leg at a time. Breathe in to prepare. As you breathe out, slide one foot forwards, extend the leg but watch the back doesn't arch. So pull back and down with the belly button to stop the belly from lifting up and the back arching. Breathe in to bring the leg back, breathe out to slide the other foot forwards. Fully extend, use your core, breathe in to slide it back. We're just going to keep repeating that. Make sure the heels stay in line with the hips. They might have a tendency to come together. Try and avoid that from happening. But most of all, keep the pelvis level and in neutral. Let's add on with the arms now. So opposite arm to leg. So if your left leg is stretching, your right arm will come off the floor, float behind you. But rib cage now, check that is in contact and stays down. It doesn't lift up like I showed you at the beginning. Breathe in to bring the arm and leg back, and then of course the other two slides. Slide away, float backwards and come forwards. So your easier level is going to allow one arm and leg to go there and back before you send the others. Next level up, of course, this is more challenging. Everything works together. As one leg goes forward, the other leg comes back. As one arm goes forward, the other comes back. There's a lot more work going through the core. You have to push down with your belly button a lot harder to make sure that the spine and the pelvis and everything stays in place. Keep the rib cage down. Keep the pelvis in neutral. Keep the heels in line with the hips. A couple more to each side. And release. Hug the legs in and gently rock from side to side. Okay, coming up from there, we're going to do a move called the side mermaid. On your elbow or your hand, I'm going to start you on your elbow and your knee. Bottom knee is tucked back and bent. Top leg goes on top. Elbow must be directly underneath the shoulder. Core muscles are switched on. You're going to push down with your elbow, knee and foot and lift the hips off the floor. Floating the arm overhead. And down you come as you breathe in. So breathe out to lift. Breathe in to lower down. You should be feeling all the work underneath here. You might feel it in your arm and shoulder as well, depending on your strength and capabilities. So that's your lower level. Stay with that if you wish. You can straighten that bottom leg and press into the feet so that the knee comes off the floor. That's another level up you could try. And then building up further from there, you can go hands and knee. That's an interim. Lifting up a little bit higher, but the body's not quite so long. And of course you can come to the top level on both feet, one hand underneath the shoulder. In this level you might not get your hips to the floor, just depends on your level. If you need to get your hips to the floor, you can bend your knees to help that through, but just remember to straighten them again when you come up. So in your chosen level, elbow knee is still fine. We'll make this one the last one. Coming down. Before we do the other side, we're going to go back onto our back. We're going to do the bridge. For those who are fairly experienced, if you've got a ball, you can put your ball between the knees. So bring the feet back so the heels are underneath the knees. Heels obviously are still in line with the hip bones. Pelvis is in neutral to start with. Head rests down, chin tucked under, hands on the floor. We're going to do the bridge. This is where we peel the spine up and down off the floor. So core muscles are switched on. Let's breathe in to prepare. As you breathe out, squash down with your belly button, squash the back into the floor, lift up the tailbone, Keep squeezing the tummy to lift the pelvis and then the rest of the spine up off the floor. Now you might find you're gripping your bottom, or you let that bottom go and grip with your tummy muscles instead and lift from above rather than pushing up from below. Sometimes that can be quite difficult to get your mind into that. Let's squeeze the tummy muscles and roll the spine back down into the floor, one vertebrae at a time, and return to neutral. Breathe out, tilt back, peel up, and breathe in to roll down. So we're trying to manipulate the spine. We're trying to force the mind and the spine to communicate much quicker with each other by piecing through each segment of the vertebrae. So if you're a pure beginner, I would suggest that you stay with this level. Keep working through it to manipulate and loosen out that spine as much as you can. Here's a different add-on for you if you want to use it. This time round, you're going to take the heels off the floor. Tilt back and peel up. Press the balls of the feet into the floor, but still squeeze the core muscles to lift that spine bit by bit off the floor, and then go down. Next time round, you're going to put your heels down and lift the balls of the feet. Tilt back. It's a bit harder. You have to work harder at squashing the middle of the back into the floor, all the way up and all the way down. Remember, you're tightening your core muscles, not your bottom. The next time round, the heel of one foot, the ball of the other foot. Tilt back, peel up, and roll down. If you're more experienced, of course, you can cross the arms over the chest. Or, of course, leave the arms on the floor for support. And just keep peeling and rolling, whichever level you decide to do. Heels and toes, this one's called. But essentially, the aim is the same, to peel the spine as much as possible, manipulating, moving, using the core muscles to curl up, peel back, and lower back down. Let's do one more of your chosen level. Do equal up the legs if you need to, if you're doing heels and toes. And release. Tuck the legs into the chest. We need to do the side mermaid on the other side, of course. Lift yourself up. Once again, I'm going to go through all of the levels for you, just to remind you. We'll start at the lower level. If you want to go straight into the higher level, absolutely go ahead. So elbow directly underneath the shoulder. Bottom leg is bent, drop it back. Top leg bit front. Core muscles are in. As you exhale, push down with the elbow, knee and foot. Lift up, float the arm overhead. And breathe in to melt down. And again. So you can stay on your elbow if you want to. Of course, there's the hand and knee option if you wish. And of course, there's the elbow and foot option. Top leg always goes in front as you exhale. Or of course, there's hand and foot, which is the harder level, of course. Pushing down with the hands and the foot, drawing inwards with the waist, lifting the hips up using your core muscles. Shall we do one more of your chosen level? And release back down. Okay. Let's just sit and stretch out through the waist, shall we? Sitting on your bottom, legs do not have to be crossed, but do keep your bottom glued to the floor. We're just going to sway from side to side. That's going to stretch underneath the shoulders and into the waist. Okay. Finishing off here, we're going to go onto our backs again for a move called the single leg circle. Pop your head on a pillow if you wish. Once again, we're going to work with a neutral spine. Again, if you find you're losing control, you can tilt back. You can secure those abs a little tighter if you wish. Whichever you feel is suitable for you. So pelvis is in neutral, core muscles are switched on. Rest the hands on the floor, but try not to grip the floor with this move, so maybe turn the palms up for the ceiling. Chin tucked under, core muscles are switched on. Breathe in to prepare. As you breathe out, you're going to gently float one foot off the floor and hover the knee above the hip. Now, right angle at the knee. Try and keep that there if you can. I've lifted my left leg so I can take my left hand to that left thigh. Okay? Other hand, fingers to the hip. We're going to stir the leg around in a small circle, but draw in those core muscles to make sure that the pelvis doesn't follow. And so those right fingertips on my hip will soon sense if the pelvis is moving. Let's stir the other way. Try and keep the non-working leg still as well. Small, smooth circles stirring around. So if you've done this move before, you might not need the guiding hands. Hence, I don't want you to grip the floor and balance the body with your arms. I want you to use your core muscles. Let's change directions again. You need to keep the hands, guiding hands in place as long as you feel it's suitable. Okay? So keep stirring the leg around, change the direction after every 4 or 5, making sure the core muscles are switched on to keep the pelvis still. It's quite a small movement, doesn't have to be a big circle at all. Notice how the circles are quite slow. You're trying to breathe in for the first half, breathe out for the second half of the circle. I think we'll make this little set the last circles for this side. So release everything, hug the knee into the chest, and just circle the foot around a couple of times to release some tension. And then we'll go straight ahead and do the other side. So pop this foot on the floor, make sure the heel is in line with the hip. The pelvis once again is in neutral. As you next exhale, float the other leg. Right angle at the knee, very important. That hand on the thigh if you need it. The other fingers on the hip bone, core muscles locked in. Let's stir that leg around in the circle. Now you must make sure that it's the thigh bone that's stirring around. A lot of people accidentally stir from the knee. No, you stir from the hip. But as you do so, guiding fingers make sure that the pelvis isn't moving. If it is, you make your circle smaller and go slower to contain the pelvis. Let's change directions. And again, for those who are more experienced, you don't need the arms guiding, and rest the back of the hands on the floor. Indeed, those who are more experienced still, if you want to, you can cross the arms over the chest. Just make sure that you are reversing those circles every 4 or 5. Still breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. Can you keep those hips still as the leg stirs around? Okay, we'll make this set the last one. Bring the leg in, release, hook the knee in and circle the foot just to release the tension. Okay, other leg in, let's roll up to a kneeling position now. We're going to do the kneeling 100. Now the 100, in case you haven't done it before, is meant to challenge you from a multitasking point of view as well as core strength. So what we do is we pump our arms just behind us, very close to the thighs, and the body is not supposed to bobble around. We sniff in 5 times, we blow out 5 times. And the idea is to contain all the bumps that might happen as you do that strange breathing. So the knees are directly underneath the hips. Squeeze your bottom, that'll support your back. Squeeze your core muscles to help keep the body locked still. Remember to keep those shoulders down, keep the chin tucked under, and we'll sniff and blow and pump the arms in time. If you're used to it and you can handle the extra one, every count of 5, we can turn the palms back. But the pressure is still pressing backwards. You don't start then pressing forwards. Okay? So everything's switched on, fingers reaching for the floor, nice long neck. Getting ready to sniff and pump the arms after 3, 2, 1. Sniff, 2, 3, 4, 5, blow, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sniff, 2, 3, 4, 5, blow, 2, 3, 4, 20. 30, 40, 50, in, 2, 3, 4, 5, out, 2, 4, 60, in, 2, 3, 4, 5, out, 2, 3, 4, 70, in, 2, 3, 4, 5, out, 2, 4, 80, in, 2, 3, 4, 5, out, 2, 3, 4, 90, last set, 4, 5 and 5, 4, 3, 2 and 1, and sit your bottom back onto your heels and take a rest. Wriggle those shoulders just to release through the tension. We've got planks next. Everybody loves a plank, don't they? I'm going to start at the lower levels, front and side, and like I did with the earlier moves, I'm going to build you up onto the hands to the higher levels for those that can and want to. So the lower levels to start with, you'll be on your elbows and your knees. But notice how the body is level, my back isn't sagging, so you need to definitely tuck your bottom under, try and lengthen through the spine as much as you can without bulking through the shoulders. So keep the neck nice and long. So there's your hands and your knees. If you want to go to the side, you take one foot behind you, just like we were earlier with the mermaid. And then you'd come back to your front, pause there a moment, foot behind to pivot to the other side. It's the same on the hands, of course. You're on your front, foot goes behind, press into the other foot, onto your front, nice and straight, other side, like so. We're just going to go from one side to the other. Here's your foot version, so hand to foot. You just pivot, make sure you press your heels down on the floor so that you feel secure, you're nice and straight through the body. You might want to hold your planks for about 2 to 3 seconds on each side and on the front. You need to take a rest, and take a rest in child's pose maybe. Take care on that transition as well. Sometimes people will push the bottom up, throw the hips over and then let the body follow. Try and keep it smooth if you can. Allow the whole body to go as one without pushing your bottom right up to the sky. We'll do one more on each side. This is one for this side. On your front. One more for the other side. Back to the front. Knees can go down now because you've gone back to your heels and have a little rest. So after our planks, we've got the dart. So this is a back extension move. I'd like you to lay on your front now. Forehead maybe on the edge of a pillow if you've got one. Hands down by your hips. Chin tucked under. Legs are relaxed and long. Now your legs are not going to be affected by this move, or they shouldn't be. I want you to try and contain everything around the waist to activate the upper body, not the lower. So belly button drawn in. Breathe in to prepare. As you breathe out, reach the hands down the sides of the legs, square off the shoulders, tighten into your lower back, and your chest should float, but keep your chin tucked under. Breathe in, melt the chest and forearms back to the floor. Breathe out and off you go again. Imagine you're a little tortoise poking your head out of your shell. Breathing out to ignite and float up, breathing in to melt down. Now notice how those legs are not bringing interaction. If yours are, I need you to try and refocus, challenge the waist, challenge the lower back, and aim to keep the legs relaxed. I've got a little add-on for you. It doesn't make it more difficult, just makes it different. You're going to breathe out to reach and float up. Then breathe in, reach right hand down right leg. So you're just closing the gap between ribs and hips. Breathe out to come back to the centre. Breathe in to melt back to the floor. We'll do the same to the other side. Breathe out to reach and float. Breathe in, reach to the other side to bring in ribs and hips together. Breathe out to come back to the centre. Breathe in to melt to the floor. We'll do each side again twice more. So breathe out to float. Breathe in, reach right. Come back to centre as you breathe in. Melt down. And breathe out to connect, lift up. Breathe in left side. Breathe out center. Breathe in down. Once more to each side then. Keep it slow and controlled. Keep those legs down. One more time then. Belly button still zipped up. Working the waist. Back to the center. And down. Release. We're going to do a cat stretch. So lifting up onto all fours. Tuck the bottom and chin under. Lengthen through the spine. And release. Sit your bottom back to the heels just for a moment. So we're going to go back onto our back. We're going to do single leg stretch. So lie yourself down. That all important right angle at the knees once again to determine where the feet go to the floor. Pelvis is in neutral, chin tucked under, core muscles are switched on, hands rest just for the moment. They are going to play in this move as well though. So single leg stretch. Let's breathe in to prepare. As you breathe out, gently float one foot off the floor. Remember this position, you've got to come back to this each time. Knee above the hip, not the tummy. Don't bring that leg too far back. Knee above the hip. Breathe in to prepare. As you breathe out, we're going to stretch the leg. The lower you go, straighter you go, the harder it is for your tummy to keep that back in neutral. Breathe in, come back. Breathe out, send forwards. Control, bear down with the tummy muscles. If you're finding your back is arching, then send the leg a little higher up in the air. I'm going to add the arms onto the move now. As you breathe out and take the leg forward, two arms are going to float off the floor and float behind, similar to what we did earlier. But of course, this time again, the chest has got to stay down, the shoulders stay away from the ears. So if that restricts how far your arms go back, then so be it. But you're aiming to stretch as far as you can and as low as you can without letting the hands touch the floor behind you. Breathe in to bring arms and leg back. Breathe out to stretch again. As you stretch, you bear down and pinch in the middle to keep everything contained. Breathe in to return. Breathe out to stretch. Little add-on for you if you wish. You can curl the head and shoulders up off the floor. It stays curled up. Fingers point to the ceiling this time. You don't want your arms going behind you. And what this does is it forces the back into the floor. So for some, this is a safer move because your back is imprinted and safe. But it does recruit the upper abdominals. So just like an abdominal crunch, that's what we're doing, but we're staying up. Got to keep the shoulder blades and the ribs off the floor. Of course, if you want to keep the head and shoulders down, you're more than welcome to. You can stay in neutral and the arms can go further back. We'll do two more with this side and then we'll go to the other side. So rest down. Stretch that leg you've just worked nice and long, just to release the tension through the hip, and then we will do the other side. So same again, pelvis is in neutral. Breathe in, prepare, breathe out, float the leg, check the knees above the hip, comes back to this place every time. Breathe in, prepare, breathe out, stretch the leg. Are you as strong on this side? Can you keep everything contained? Breathing out to stretch, breathing in to return. When you're confident, you can add on the arms. Leg goes forward, two arms, gently reach behind you, but keep that connection. Keep the belly button pinching down, to keep that back in neutral. Shoulders stay away from the ears, and the rib cage must stay down. Little add-on, if you want to do it for this side, curling the head and shoulders up off the floor, keep them lifted, squash your back down, squash the tummy muscles down. Fingers point to the sky this time. Take your arms back behind you, they will try and pull the head and shoulders down again, which works against what you're trying to do with those upper abdominals. Quite a strong one, this one. You do it nice and slowly. Two more times then. And rest down. And stretch that long leg long, keep that hip a little rub. Okay, so we're going to go on to the other side now, onto one side now. We're going to do a move called the plie. This opens up through the hips. We're going to prop your head up in your hand if you can. If you prefer to go lower, then that's absolutely fine. The bottom leg is going to be straight. The top leg's going to do all the work, but I want you to turn that leg out. Squeeze your bottom, open out through the hips. The knee is going to point to the sky, hand in front to start with. So point the toes, core muscles switched on. You're going to drag the toes up the inside of the bottom leg, knee up to the ceiling. Now flex the foot up to the sky. Straight leg's got to come all the way down. Feel the resistance. And again, point, breathe in, lift up. Flex and drag down. If you feel quite confident with this move, it might be that you can take your hand to the hip. You've got to stop yourself from rolling back, she says. Pointing up, flexing down, core muscles in all the way through. Really opening up through the hip, we're working our inner thigh. Very important for you to flex the foot, to bring it down. It really activates the inner thigh for you. We'll do one more. Release, bring both legs in. We're going to do what's called the clam now, or the oyster. Keep your feet together. We're just going to open the knees, but you'd imagine you've got a cup of tea on the top of this hip. We're going to open and close through the knee. Squeezing your bottom, open as much as you can without letting your hips drop backwards. So this isolates the glute muscles. Okay, just two more. Release and bring that leg up in front just to stretch that area. Now before we go to the other side, we're going to do a move called the rolling ball. This is a classic Pilates move. If you're on a hard floor like I am, you might benefit by folding your mat in half just to give yourself, like I'm doing, a little bit more cushioning underneath your back. So rolling ball. We do what it says on the tin, basically. We turn ourselves into a rolling ball. The move starts with a balance up on your sitting bones and a nice straight back. And you can hold underneath the legs like I am, or in front, but your legs are not allowed to kick. And this is where the trick comes in. To initiate the roll, you sink into your lower back. So it's that kind of movement to sink you back, not that. We're throwing with the head and shoulders. So you sink, breathe in, breathe out, and come back to that balance. Try not to let your feet slam on the floor. Breathe in, sink, breathe out, forwards. So you're trying to lift those hips up. You need to come up onto your shoulders and back onto your hips. And keep it all controlled. Notice how my legs are not straightening. We'll just do two more. And pop those feet down, well done. So with that move, we're using our core muscles. We're forcing our mind to use the core muscles as our centre of gravity. But at the same time, we're massaging out through the back, lengthening the muscles as well. So we need to do the side plie for the other side, don't we? Side plie and the clam. Propping your head up if you can, on your hand. If you want to go lower, that's fine. Bottom leg is straight, core muscles are switched on, hand in front to start with. Turn the leg out, leg needs to point up towards the ceiling. And point the toes, core muscles in. Drag the toes as you breathe in, up the inside of the leg. Press the heel up to the sky. Straight leg comes all the way down. And again. Same as before, you can leave that hand to support in front or you can take the hand to the hip. Use your core muscles to stop you from accidentally rolling back. So keep working through the leg, nice and straight all the way through. We'll just do 2 more. Super. And then we're going to go into the clam. So release there. Bring both legs up in front. Feet together. Imagine that cup of tea on top of your hip. You can hold your hand there if you want. Core muscles are switched on. Let's open and close through the knee. Keeping the feet together. Squeeze in the glutes. Keep that hip still. Remember, don't let the hips roll backwards. That's it. 3 more times then. Okay, we're into the final stretches now. I want you to bring yourself onto all fours. We're going to do what's called the standing side stretch. Just take the right foot forwards, centre of the mat, curl the toes under behind you and lift your knee up. Steady with your feet. Now take the forearm to your right thigh and lift your left shoulder up. So you should find you've got a diagonal line through this hip. If that's too low, you can come to your hand instead. That top arm is going to be on a diagonal. Notice the gap between shoulder and ear. So depending on how flexible you are, depending on your level, you can come down to the forearm or you can stay up on that hand. But you are looking for that straight diagonal line. We're stretching through the inner thigh, we're stretching down the side of the waist as well. But keep that shoulder away from the ear. Okay, we're going to take this back down to the floor. Wriggle the right foot over and take the knee down to the floor behind you. Sink the hips. See how we're opening up through that hip flexor. So keep your weight forward. You can keep your hands on the floor if you want to. Alternatively, bring the hands to the thigh. If you know yoga, of course, feel free to full crescent moon, reaching the fingers and eyes up to the skies. Shoulders down away from the ears. Make sure your pelvic floor is zipped up. Moving on from here, leave the legs where they are, just push your body weight backwards. Allow the toes to lift up if necessary. We're going to stretch down that long straight leg in front. Drop the chin to the chest and breathe. Okay, coming back to all fours, we need to take the other leg forwards now. I'm just going to turn for demonstration purposes, you don't have to. Let's bring the left foot forwards, centre of the mat. Curl the right toes under, lift your knee up, settle yourself. You're not coming up very high, remember. Hand or forearm to the thigh, lift up that right shoulder so your chest is facing forwards. And arm goes on a diagonal. Of course, the easier version, you don't have to sink quite so low. It's up to you how low you go. But that straight line is what you're looking for. You're looking also for that gap between the ear and the shoulder. Let's go down to the floor then. Take that back knee down. Wriggle the left foot over a fraction. Sink the hips so we open out through the hip. As before, you can keep the hands on the floor. Bring your hands to your thigh. Or if you wish, crescent moon, fingers and eyes up to the skies. Do drop the shoulders down, of course. Pelvic floor zipped up, core muscles switched on. Ready for that hamstring stretch? So take the hands down, push your bottom backwards, leave that leg in front. Toes might come off the floor, that's fine. As long as you feel that stretch down the back of the leg, that's all we're looking for. Drop the chin to the chest. Relax through the neck. Okay, we're going to take that left leg back now. Lie yourself down on your front. Final stretch. Support your head with one arm. Other hand takes a hold from behind. Pull the heel into your bottom. Push the hips down into the floor. Squeeze your bottom. Get a nice long stretch down the front of the thigh. Release, we'll do the same to the other side. Heel in towards the bottom. Squeeze your bottom. Push the heel, hips down. Nice long stretch through the thigh. And release. Finally, up onto all fours. Push your bottom back to your heels. And there we're done. Super everyone, I do hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. And I'll see you again soon. Take care, bye bye.